Hi guys! In this next series of videos, we're going to be learning the context of poetry written after 1900. We're going to look at an overview of some of the broader contexts of poetry in this era. Then we're going to look at examples of some of the poetic movements and genres in this time, and look at how we might incorporate context into an exam-style question, and look at an example of a paragraph of poetry analysis that does this.
So firstly, I'm going to give you a brief overview of how poetry and significant world events developed over the 20th century. So let's start off with the years 1900 to 1939. In this time, there was the birth of the new century, which signalled the end of the Victorian era, and this signalled the end of a very specific type of literature, and therefore modernism was a reaction to the kind of very typical Victorian texts. Modernism included more experimental styles. If you take a look at the work of Virginia Woolf and T.S. Eliot, you'll see what I mean by that. They had more complex allegories, metaphors, intertextual references. They had a lot of obliqueness, which just means kind of it was quite impenetrable. It was very complex and intellectual. And they have a lot of free form in the poetry of modernism. For example, if you take a look at the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock, which is perhaps one of T.S. Eliot's most famous poems, I recommend that you go away and have a read of that, just so that you have an idea of what modernism is. In this era as well, women's rights were at the forefront of society, and lots of poetry was tackling this issue, and finally women got the vote in 1918. And if we just take a look here at this Picasso painting called The Weeping Woman with Handkerchief, this is a good visual representation of modernism and how the poetry of the time reflected this much more fractured, abstract and colourful style of art. And so we can always see that the literature of the time is reflected in the art of the time. Also in this era of 1900 to 1939, World War I happened. World War I happened from 1914 to 1918. World War I really changed the way the world was perceived, especially women in the workplace. When the war happened, women went to work in the man's place and did lots of manual labour, and it really changed the way that women were seen in society. World War I also affected how people wrote. They saw the world as more fractured and bleak, and this you can see this reflected in modernism as well. The 1930s were a troubled time, so this is after the First World War, and in the lead up to the Second World War.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're looking for an amazing A-level English literature resource, join me today in my series of engaging bite-sized video tutorials. Together, we will concisely cover all the important concepts required by your exam board specification, as well as practically apply what we have learnt through exam-style questions, focusing on how best to structure your answers in order to maximise marks. See you soon, and together, let's make A-level English literature a walk in the park.